If it's not Baroque, don't fix it.
As I always say, if it's not Baroque, don't fix it.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 worst changes in Disney live-action remakes. Before we begin, we publish new content every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. For this list, we're taking a look at the most misguided alterations Disney's made in the live-action remakes of their animated classics. We're not saying these remakes are bad, we're just highlighting the more questionable creative choices.
What is he doing?
Butter wagon.
Number 10. Not being musicals. Various movies. Disney's animated adaptations of Alice in Wonderland, Sleeping Beauty, and Cinderella all became classics thanks in part to their timeless songs. Their live-action counterparts, however, stuck to straightforward narratives with no traditional musical numbers. Covers of songs like Once Upon a Dream and Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo are merely relegated to the credits, which leaves something to be desired. Even the remakes that remained faithful to their musical roots, like Beauty and the Beast, have struggled to recapture the magic of the originals. Emma Watson is a charming actress, but her singing chops are not exactly on par with Paige O'Hara's. Also, we're not so sure whose idea it was to have Christopher Walken sing I Wanna Be Like You in The Jungle Book, but the performance could have used more cowbell.
I got a fever, and the only prescription is more cowbell.
Number 9. Sucking out the color. Various movies. Like music, bright, vibrant colors have always been a staple of Disney's animated features. To be fair, some live-action Disney remakes are actually quite vivid, particularly Kenneth Branagh's Cinderella. But then you have something like Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland, where the colors are generally muted, dreary, and bizarrely lacking in wonder. While the production design is still pretty impressive, the lack of inviting colors leaves us longing for the animated version. The same can be said about some of the locations found in Maleficent, The Jungle Book, and Beauty and the Beast. On a related note, the fact that Belle isn't the only person in her town who wears blue is a missed opportunity to visually convey her individuality like the animated film did. Number 8. Why doesn't Cinderella leave? Cinderella.
Yes, stepmother.
Oh, you needn't call me that. Madam will do.
Many have criticized 1950s Cinderella, arguing that the titular character just waits for her dreams to come true instead of taking action. To be fair though, Cinderella lost her father as a child and was raised by a wicked stepfamily. When a person grows up in a cruel household, it's not uncommon for them to fear leaving. After years of abuse, it's understandable that Cinderella would feel trapped with nowhere else to turn. In the live-action version, however, Cinderella loses her father as an adult and has a social life, giving her no real reason to stick with her stepfamily. Cinderella stays because of her sentimental attachment to the house, but she does ultimately move into the prince's castle. So why didn't she simply leave sooner?
How could you?
Number 7. Gaston leaves Maurice to die. Beauty and the Beast.
Why did you offer to help?
Because I want to marry your daughter.
Gaston is one of the most complex animated villains in the Disney canon. Rather than being evil from the get-go, he begins as a pompous pig who won't take no for an answer. As Belle continuously turns him down, Gaston takes greater measures to force her into marriage, culminating in a battle against the Beast. The live-action version of Gaston starts off similarly, but halfway through the film, he attempts to murder Maurice, who deems him unfit for his daughter. Gaston goes from just being a jerk to nearly killing an innocent man in a heartbeat, derailing his natural progression into full-blown villainy.
Once the wolves have finished with him, Belle will have no one to take care of her but me.
Having Gaston commit such an unforgivable act so early on also detracts from the climax where he's revealed as the real Beast.
He's not a monster, Gaston. You are.
Number 6. Alice is the chosen one. Alice in Wonderland.
That's not me.
Whether we're talking about Lewis Carroll's original story or Disney's animated adaptation, one thing has always remained a constant when it comes to Alice in Wonderland. Alice is an ordinary, everyday girl who accidentally stumbles into a fantastical world. In Disney's live-action update, however, Alice is depicted as the chosen one who's destined to slay the Jabberwocky. Yeah, because if there's one person who's qualified to fight a giant dragon, it's a 19-year-old with no supernatural powers or military background.
I'm not slaying anything. I don't slay, so put it out of your mind.
This change makes the film feel less like Alice in Wonderland and more like a knockoff of Harry Potter or Narnia. On top of all that, why would Wonderland, a place that's not supposed to run on any logic whatsoever, have a prophetic scroll?
It tells of each and every day.
Number 5. Cinderella doesn't try to escape. Cinderella. Cinderella may occasionally come off as submissive in Disney's original film. When Lady Tremaine locks Cinderella in her room, though, she does everything in her power to escape before the Duke leaves with the glass slipper. Refusing to give up, she ultimately prevails with some help from her animal friends. For all the development Cinderella is given in the new version, she isn't nearly as determined to break free from captivity. Rather than banging on the door or screaming for help, she just happily sings and dances without a care in the world. Fortunately, the mice open the window, allowing her song to be heard by the prince. Still, Cinderella doesn't take any initiative, and only achieves her happily ever after through sheer dumb luck. Number 4. Wonderland at War. Alice in Wonderland.
Where's your champion, sister?
Here.
There's a big difference between fantasy and epic fantasy. Alice in Wonderland is a fantasy, whereas The Lord of the Rings is an epic fantasy. Tim Burton apparently got a little mixed up because his interpretation of Wonderland is an all-out war zone. The Red Queen has seized power from the White Queen following a devastating attack. Now, with a rebellion on the rise, it's up to Alice to restore order by conquering the Jabberwocky. Sorry, but words like war, rebellion, and order just don't mesh well with a nonsensical environment like Wonderland. Well, maybe that's why it's called Underland here.
You were just as dim-witted the first time you were here. You called it Wonderland, as I recall.
In any case, when you have the Mad Hatter on the battlefield instead of at a tea party, it's clear that something got lost in translation. Number 3. Weird CGI looks. Various movies. People panicked when they thought Will Smith's genie might not be blue in the live-action Aladdin. Of course, once audiences got a look at the genie and all of his blue CGI glory from the trailer, well, you know the phrase, be careful what you wish for?
You really don't know who I am. Genie, wishes, lamb, none of that ringing a bell.
Yeah. CGI has come a long way in recent years, and these advances have even been exemplified in some of Disney's live-action remakes. The Jungle Book won an Oscar for its visual effects. In many cases, though, the CGI characters in these remakes just look awkward, creepy, and weird. A lot of them don't even come off as especially realistic, which takes the audience out of the experience. Some characters are simply easier to accept in animation.
Is it? Looks dreadful.
Number 2. The Beast's book that can take you anywhere. Beauty and the Beast.
A book that truly allows you to escape.
2017's Beauty and the Beast actually cleared up a few questions people always had about the original film, but it also created a gigantic plot hole. One of the magical items the Enchantress gives the Beast in this version is a book that can transport the reader anywhere. But wait a minute, why doesn't Belle just use this book when her father's about to be sent to the asylum? She could literally teleport to town, grab Maurice, and then disappear without a trace. Belle is supposed to be smart, for crying out loud. Not only does this make no sense, but also the Beast already has a mirror that allows him to see the outside world. Isn't giving him a transporting book kind of overkill?
Where did you take us?
Number 1. Making the Three Fairies dumb. Maleficent. The Three Fairies are the unsung heroes of Sleeping Beauty, not only helping to save Princess Aurora, but also getting Prince Philip out of a couple of tight spots. Well, in Maleficent, they're reduced to three stooges who constantly put Aurora in danger and contribute nothing of value to the plot.
What are we going to do? Well, we can't give up, can we? Come on, girls. But we don't even know where to start.
Okay, technically they're pixies instead of fairies in this version, and they aren't even called Flora, Fauna, and Merryweather. Instead, they're named Knotgrass, Thistlewit, and Flittle, which makes their presence slightly easier to swallow. Considering how strong-willed, likable, and important the fairies were in the original film, however, giving them such incompetent substitutes feels like a complete slap in the face. Maleficent might have cursed a baby, but these three feel like the real issue here.
Kiss her!
Do you agree with our picks? Check out these other great clips from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.